from the mound.
The Giants have won the ball game. Bill Laskey, in his first major league start, has shut out the Montreal Expos.
To the mic.
Friend of the show, let's bring in Bryce Eldridge. Let's welcome in Lee Jung-hoo from Rocky Mountain, North Carolina. He wears number 65, Landon Root.
Well, I appreciate it, Bill. I always enjoy talking to you.
Let's welcome in Wade Boggs. Let's bring in Will the Thrill. He's the ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb. Logan, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Good to be on here.
Welcome to Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Giants sweep the LA Dodgers.
Sponsored by Lunardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply the best. Right here on your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR, the sports leader.
Here it comes. Swing, and there's a shot into right field. Hit deep, way back there. Adios! Pelota! A laser beam over the Willie Mays wall in right field and into the first row of the seating out there, and the Giants, just like that, have tied this game.
Welcome into a Saturday edition of the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. Giants today, good pitching, 3 home run balls, and fantastic defense as the Giants bounce back from a loss last night, 9-4 to the Marlins, and come back today with a 6-2 win on Brandon Belt Celebration Day. And what a gorgeous day it was out there. The fans came out with all the different giraffe hats and the captain hats, the number 9 jerseys, and a smile on Brandon Belt's face along with his family. Just a joyous day before the Giants took the field. And, you know, when you start thinking back at Brandon Belt and his career, just a fabulous first baseman. We always talk about the home run he hit in Washington. I always think about his defense. He was just spectacular at first base. And we're going to talk about that as the show continues. And definitely 415-808-KNBR if you have a moment or something you know about Brandon Belt. Let's talk about it as the show continues. But I want to get to this game today as pitching once again devastated this offense by the Marlins, only giving up 6 hits after they gave up 16 hits last night. And it started with Robbie Ray. But as we talk about the Marlins, a very aggressive hitting team. They don't swing out of the zone. And really the pitch count got Robbie Ray out of this game. He threw 97 pitches and 55 for strikes in 5 innings. And really the first inning, 31 pitches. He bounced back into third with 27. He got through 5 innings, and he did well. He only gave up 1 run, and really it was a check swing base hit by Edwards that got the run in, and he salvaged it. And, of course, in the bottom of the 5th inning, Drew Gilbert hit his home run, a solo home run to tie it. So we had Robbie Ray off the hook. But I want to talk about this Giants bullpen because this Giants bullpen has been pitching lights out under a 2-point earned run average since April 7th. And just on this homestand, when you're talking 6 games, 3 against the Dodgers, 5 games, 3 against the Dodgers, and 2 against Miami, they go 17 innings. They've given up 11 hits, 1 earned run. That's right, 1 earned one. And that was J.T. Brubaker yesterday when he went 3 innings, 9 walks, 13 strikeouts. And today, once again, 4 pitchers put zeros on the board to make this win happen. Matt Gage got the W as he went 1 inning the 6th. Keaton Wynn did the 7th. Miller did the 8th, and Ryan Walker did the 9th. And what a great game by the pitching staff, and I'm complimenting this bullpen. As if you remember a month ago or so, every phone call was about the bullpen. What's going to happen, Bill? Where are they going to fit in? Well, I can tell you right now, Justin Message has done a great job as the first-year pitching coach, eliminated some pitches on some guys, made some pitchers stronger, and the bullpen just has been pitching lights out against the Dodgers as well as the Marlins with 1 more game left on this homestand. Giants have won 6 out of 9 games, playing very well today. The home run ball was welcomed by the Oracle crowd. As I said, Gilbert hit his 2nd in the 5th inning. And Casey Schmidt, boy, he was struggling after hitting a double, getting picked behind him with a runner yesterday, of course, overrunning second base. You could see the frustration on his face, very game-like. But he came up in the 6th inning and hit a 2-0 fastball and just nailed it 404 feet 96-mile-an-hour fastball by Perez, and he didn't miss it. And it continued from there with Mr. Ramos going to right field again in the 8th inning. 3 home run balls. Ramos is third, Schmidt's third, and Gilbert's number 2. Just fantastic hitting right there. And we got to talk about hitting. Boy, there's some hot hitters in this lineup, and then there's some that aren't hitting. And I got to talk about Jung-Hoo Lee right off the bat. He was 3 for 9 in that Dodgers series, and he's 5 for 7 in this Marlins series, 8 for 16 right now on this homestand, and he's doing everything, hitting the ball out of the ballpark, hitting them in gaps, going the opposite way. Everything that we have seen about Jung-Hoo Lee, he has turned around. And when you're looking at a batting average, 285 right now for Jung-Hoo Lee. Elliot Ramos is still hot. He's 3 for 7 in these 2 games. He was 3 for 9 in the Dodgers series, 6 for 16 on this homestand. Schmidt has struggled against the Dodgers, 0 for 7, but he's put on a couple good games. He's 3 for 7 in the Marlins series. But again, we got to look at Luis Ariz. He's just that professional hitter that goes every which way. I was talking to my producer, Danny Dunn, and I said, this is the kind of guy you can't even throw a pitch out of the zone because he's got good hands where he can slap the ball to left field, and he did it again in the 8th inning going down the left field line with a double. He went 2 for 5 today. He's 8 for 20 on the homestand, 5 for 10 in these 2 games, and this team is starting to gel. But you got to look at the other side. There's a couple of guys that still are struggling. And the first one's Willy Adames. He is just biting the bullet right now. 1 for 12 against the Dodgers. He is 0 for the Marlins right now, 0 for 10 right now, 1 for 22. And it just seems like he's tired. I just think that he needs a day off, maybe push him out of that leadoff spot. I just don't know if Tony Vitello is ready to do that right now, but he's 1 for 22 on the homestand. And Rafael Devers, 3 for 11 in the Dodgers series, 3 for 19 in this homestand. 2 guys that we need in this lineup. This is what Giants fans want to see. These 2 guys are needed on the offensive side, but when you're looking at the others, they are really developing in some good adjustments and hitting the ball extremely well as the Giants get 11 hits today, 3 home runs. All right, we're going to get on the phone lines, 415-808-KNBR. We'll take a quick break. More with Bill Laskey on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. A lot of calls calling in. Let's talk a little Brandon Belt celebration as well as this Giants win today as they win 6-2 with 40,000 fans at Oracle Park. I'm Bill Laskey. We'll be right back on the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
All right, back on KNBR with Bill Laskey. The Giants win today 6-2, breaking a 5-game losing streak against the Marlins. They came in last year, if you remember, and they swept the Giants in 3 games. And in 2024, they took 2 out of 3. So the Giants had a 5-game losing streak. Finally, they break it with a win today, and they have an opportunity tomorrow to take the series with, of course, Landon Roop on the hill, having a great year. He's 4-1 with a 2.28 earned run average. And he's going up against a right-hander, Max Meyer, a 27-year-old right-hander, 1-0 with a 3.9 earned run average. 25 innings, 11 walks, 11 strikeouts. Or I should say 11 walks, 28 strikeouts. He's given up 2 home runs. And you know what? He's only been going 4 or 5 innings. So this is a time to get on him early and jump on him, as they didn't do today with Perez. Perez was really throwing the ball well until that home run by Drew Gilbert, and they kind of pushed him out of the game in that 6th inning, which they needed to do. This kid was good. 23-year-old right-hander throwing up to 100 miles an hour with a changeup and a hard slider. Giants just couldn't mount an attack against him until that 5th inning, and Drew Gilbert hit a bullet out to right field, and it started a rally. The Giants started hitting the ball a lot better in the 6th. They added on in the 8th. And I think that's what we want to see out of the Giants, to add on and continue to keep battling through 9 innings as they win this game 6-2 on 3 home runs by Ramos, Schmidt, and Gilbert. And some great pitching. And just like I said, starting to show, the bullpen has just been dialed in on this homestand as well as on the last road trip. So they're starting to feel a little better in the bullpen, and they're definitely putting zeros on the board. All right, let's get to the phone calls. Let's go to South City and talk to John. John, you're on an extra inning post-game show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Bill. How about yourself?
Well, turning around after yesterday's game is a plus, and I think that's what all Giants fans wanted to see, especially him celebrating Brandon Belt today.
No doubt about it, Bill. I did. Last year was Brandon Crawford Day, and this year Brandon Belt Day. How about that? You get
pretty
both
cool
wins.
right there.
Pretty cool. I want to bring up a memory about Belt that year. I'm going to go way back. I think we're going to go to 2014 in the NLDS game against the Washington Nationals, that 18-inning game. We knew it was going to be a dogfight in that game. You know, it was going to be a pitcher's duel. When the 18-inning game, what does Belt does? Hit a home run off of Tanner Roark in that game. That was probably the best memory ever for Giants fans. We'll never forget. As well.
Well, John, you know, I heard an interview from Brandon Belt. He said after they came in that inning, he said he ran into the clubhouse and down 2 cans of Red Bull. He said, I had to wake up. I had to have some energy. And what does he do? Hits the home run. And he said that was a jolt I needed because the game was so long. It was so cold in Washington. And, of course, that was the game winner.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It was a cold one. I forgot about that game.
Yeah.
And then now let's focus now to the game. I thought today they really played well. It started with the homer by Gilbert, and then Casey Smith hitting a home run. And I love the interview when he gets doused by Power Rays by Willie Adonis. That was a perfect 10 out of 10 on that one, Bill.
Yeah, he even got some Gatorade in his ear. He was even saying it. He had the headset in, and I guess it leaked in there, and he was like, man, it's cold in my ear here. But you know what? You know, what he did, you know, when he hit the double and then he slid by the bag and he got picked on a back pick, you could see he was frustrated. And he did it yesterday on that little ground ball by Jung-Hoo Lee where he went by the bag and slipped. And you know, he went into that dugout and you could just see his face just mad at himself. And he was just angry. He was just to that point of going, man, I'm better than that. And those little things like that, John, add up. And yesterday it could have been bases loaded, didn't happen. Today they sparked it after that. And with his home run ball, he definitely had a smile on his face in the dugout.
He definitely needed that one, Bill. And Bill, I got to ask you a question. On that play in the top of the ninth, that Marlins runner, should that runner have been out because he was on the baseline? Should that, since the umpire missed that call, should that runner have been out?
Which one? The one that when Bailey caught the ball? when he came out and he threw and hit the No, he hit him in the shoulder. It just caught his jersey. No, he was on the inside of that. He was in that box. He was running the proper way. He wasn't on the inside like Encarnacion did when Tony V got thrown out. He was running perfectly. The ball sailed on Bailey. If you could see on the angle that he threw it and where his arm was, the ball kind of sailed a little bit, and Devers couldn't get that glove in there fast enough. It was an unearned run. It really didn't hurt him, but it definitely got him an error.
Yeah, I mean, it's a routine play. That just cannot happen in a play like that in the top of the ninth if you're up by 6-1. I mean, I know it's not going to be negative on that one, but that cannot happen in a game like that.
You're right, and those are the things that you can't do when you're losing. If it was a 2-1 ball game, man, that would have just magnified it. It didn't bother, Walker. He got out there and got the next three guys out, even though they scored a run. A play like that, I think he had a little bit more time than he thought, and the throw could have been on the inside part of the base instead of right down the line.
No doubt about it. Let's hope Mr. Roop can get the go for the series win tomorrow, and we head off to Philadelphia in the right way.
Yep, John. Well, great calls, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. Have a great rest of Saturday night. Let's go out to San Leandro and talk to my hitting guru, Mick. What's going on, Mick?
Hey, Bill. How you doing? What a great day with the celebration for Brandon Belt and the win today. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, a nice turnaround win from last night. Of course, they lost the third game in the Dodgers series and only got one hit. But yesterday, they got behind the 8-ball early with Hauser on the hill. When you're down 8-0, it was tough. Today, they were playing even up. One run they gave up early with Robbie Ray on that check swing base hit by Edwards over Devers' head. But I thought Robbie Ray pitched in times. There was times in that game where he settled down with runners on base. He had second and third with 2 outs and got out of it, got a double play to end the inning in the 5th. And he battled. And, the pitch count got up there. I was wondering if he was going to go out in the 6th, but he had 97 pitches. And they put it to the bullpen, and the bullpen's been lights out, Mick.
Oh, yeah. Well, they really – I was worried about his pitch count early on because he was up around, 30 pitches in the first or second inning there.
31 pitches, 31 in the first, and then he kind of settled down with 16 in the second. But then he had a hard inning in the third, and that's when he gave up the run. He had another 27 right there. So, when you're looking at the numbers on him, the numbers weren't looking good early in this game.
Well, luckily he's a bulldog. I mean, he digs in, and I think they let him – pitch it because he pitches his way out of it. He got a couple double plays and so forth. It was a great win for the Giants today. I wanted to talk a little bit, just briefly, about Jung-Hoo Lee's adjustment, that he's on fire hitting there. Yeah,
8 for 16 on this homestand. When you're looking at numbers and you just look at the last 2 games, 5 for 7. And he's doing exactly, Mick, what you and I talked about, going the opposite way and the ball inside, pulling it a little bit, got a home run the other night. But let me hear what your analyzation is.
Well, I think he's picked up an old pitcher trick here that when the pitcher has a speed burner on first base and you've got to try and give your catcher a chance to throw him out, you don't exercise that high leg kick. You use a little slide step. And I've been videoing his at-bats as well as Devers and Adamas's, and Jung-Hoo hardly lifts his foot up. He has a real quick slide step, and he's getting his foot down on time every time. He hit a home run the other day. I mean, he's hitting the ball ferociously, and it's because he's on time. You look
at 2 doubles today. When you look at what he did today, 2 doubles, one to right center field, then the next one to left center field. You and I have talked about this weekend to weekend about making adjustments, and he definitely has. And I like what you're saying. He doesn't have that high leg kick, and he's using the barrel of the bat, pushing the ball away when the pitch is away and the ball's inside. He's getting quick on those pitches inside. We didn't see that before.
Well, he's got a few fractions of a second to get that barrel out in front of the plate and make good contact. I looked up from the first Baltimore game on April 10th. He's 19 for 48, and that's 396, and he's just getting better and better. And I'm positive it's this little slide step because he's on time and he's spreading the ball around. If you have time, you can barrel the ball to all the fields. But if you don't, you just have to hit it wherever you can. But he's just really settling in. I'm real impressed with that. But I think he's using that slide step that really has given him control over the pitcher, and I think it's a great adjustment. And I'm hoping, and I'm waiting for Devers and Adames to
yeah, both of them are struggling. Yeah, they're both
Well,
struggling. I said it earlier. I think I said it last weekend. I really think Adames needs to take a day off, forget about it, and tomorrow would be a good day to take it off, get Cosson to play shortstop, and just give him tomorrow and Monday off and to regenerate. And sometimes you have to do that. He's played in every game of every inning. And nothing against Willie Adames. I love the guy. I just love how he comes out. He's very low-key. He's very energized. But when you're looking at a number like we're talking about right now, 1 for 22, give him the day off. Just let him rest and forget about it instead of trying it again for another 5 at-bats. I just don't know their theories. You and I talking about this as two people on a street corner thinking this is what it should be. We don't know what's going on in the clubhouse. We don't know what they generate, if they're going to give them a day off or not. We haven't seen it yet. And, of course, Tony Vitello's been throwing out the same lineup. We might see it again tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes a mental day off is what they really need because he's playing pretty good defense. And but, you know, the thing between Adames and Devers, I think they've got around 105, 106 at-bats. I was looking it up here earlier today. And each of them one has 34 strikeouts, and the other has 35 strikeouts for 105 at-bats. Yeah. And they're really struggling, and mentally it's really tough on them. And Devers is in the top 10 of hitters hitting into double plays in MLB, and he almost into another one with Chapman at first base. But they couldn't make the play. It was a fielder's choice. But, yeah, those guys need a little bit of a mental reset. But I think the whole key with
I think, you know what, Mick, when you think about it like that, you know, you're even looking at numbers, as I'm looking at numbers right now. Both of them have 23 hits each. Willie Adames is 23 for 111, and Devers is 23 for 108. So it's about the similar numbers right there, and 213 and 207. And it's not impressive. Both of them played every game, every at-bat. They haven't missed anything. And, you know, you're starting to look at 27 games in, and they're just falling backwards. They're not gaining anything. Their at-bats are stale. And these are the times when you have Bruce Bochy, Bob Melvin, even going back to even Gabe Kapler, you give them that mental day off, as you say, and a physical day off just to forget about it. We'll see if Tony does that tomorrow.
Well, you know, the thing you and I talked about before is Devers doesn't always go to oppo, you know, hit opposite field, and they're throwing strikes on the outside corner, and he's rolling over into those double plays, going right to the second base, and that's what he did today. Those guys. I
tell you, when I saw hitters like that, Mick, when I saw hitters do that, I throw the ball outside all day long, because they just want to pull it, and they're never going to pull a sinker away. The guys that go the opposite way, like a Rise or Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew, those guys used to kill me with that sinker away. They'd wait till the last second and punch it right to left field. We watch Rise does it so well. He reminds me of Tony Gwynn so much, and same thing with Rod Carew.
Yeah, me too. Well, he digs the ball out 6 inches off the ground and pops it over the third baseman's head, and they can't do anything about it. It's
no, and you know who else does it also is Xavier Edwards, the other second baseman from Miami, another top line hitter. I love watching that kid play. He's going to be a diamond. He's going to be a superstar. He's only 26 years old and hitting 347 coming in today's game, and he goes 2 for 4. He's a tough out, and he's always hit well here at Oracle.
Well, you know, I hope to see those guys setting the example for some of the veterans hitters. Like if Devers and Adames would start going the other way just to take the heat off and get a few knocks, they'll relax, and then they can take and open up and what they have to do.
I agree. I agree with you, Mick. Thanks for the call today, Mick. Some good baseball talk and some good hitting explanations, but I appreciate your time. Let's go to Santa Rosa. Talk to Dan. Dan, Giants win a tough game today, 6-2. A bounce-back game, especially after they lost last night.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. Yeah, great game today, huh?
I thought so. A good bounce-back game, and I'm commending the bullpen because the bullpen doesn't get enough glamour. They've been shutting the door down. This whole homestand only giving up one earned run when you're talking about 5 games, 17 innings they've thrown. And here's a bullpen that we're all talking about is a mess. And I still – when you're looking at Justin Message and his pitching coaches, they figured it out, and they've got a good roll with what places they put these guys in.
Definitely pleasantly surprised with that for sure. And, boy, it was so good to hear Brandon Belt on the telecast with Kruk and Kipe. I didn't hear the radio end of it, but that was a precious 2 innings that he was there.
He's a class guy, he hasn't changed one bit. And they said, well, what do you do? He says, I play golf every day and then I coach baseball every night. So that's retirement for Brandon Belt right there.
He had 9 one-liners in there, I'm telling you. But this game, body language, I want to talk about it on both ends of the spectrum. I think so. Ramos, just love to see him in his glory, doing his, charge around the bases. Kind of makes me think there's a baby Bull or a baby Bull Jr. in the house when he's running the bases. Not all respect to Cepeda, but that's a Bull run around the bases, and then it was great.
And he's one strong dude. How about that, Dan? Going the opposite way again on a fastball, kind of riding up and in. And I don't know if you heard the post game with Hunter Pence. He goes, "Yeah, big boys hit him out there, Hunter."
Yeah, well, and that's right. And Gilbert barely climbed the wall, but it was but as hard to hit balls you're going to see. So that and his energy. So those are the positive body languages. Devers, I just think his nature, his body language isn't great. But there was one instance in the game, Bill, and I want your take on this, where it was 4-1, bottom of the 7th. Arise led off with a weak ground ball to second, and he just hung his head and and he's been great lately. I love Arise, but it was a moment where I watched Jose Ramirez a ton because I'm in Cleveland a lot of the year, and he would never, ever dog at the first base. And I saw that happen, and I think about Jose Ramirez, who talks about Francona and more lately Vogt, who inspires his team. My question for you, Bill, is I'm hoping for Vitello all the best, but do you think this is a situation where Vitello has it in him to bring up just a small moment like that for a player who's going hot and say, you got to do better?
It could be a mention. It could be a mention, but you're not going to get on him. There's no question. He's not going to say anything to him. He's not going to dog him. He's not going to do anything like that with a veteran like Devers. It's not going to happen. And Devers knows better.
It was a rise,
better.
actually, that I'm referring to. It was actually a rise.
What was it again? I thought you were talking about Devers not running hard.
The 7th, maybe I don't know if he had some slip out of the box. Maybe he grounded to second and just didn't even try to get out of the box.
No, and that was it. I mean, there was nothing there to it. I'm looking at what you're talking about, right? Hit a ground ball to second, but I'm even talking about Devers sometimes not running down to first that hard. You see him kind of doing 3/4. When you're talking about veteran guys that are going to play in 162 games, when they see an out, they're not going to sprint down first base. It's not 100 Pence where he ran hard every play. But some of these guys will see it in front of them, and they'll just go in mid-speed unless the guy drops it or overthrows it. They know when it's an out. I just sometimes I see Devers not busting tail. I'd like to see him run a little harder. But again, Tony V is not going to go to these veterans and say, hey, you need to step it up. You need to kick it in the butt a little bit. That's not going to happen at this level. College, yes. High school, yes. But when you're talking big leaguers, especially these two superstars, they're going to go through the motions and get through it. But we'll see. We'll see how it all translates. I just think these guys are leading by example. By the way they're hitting, they're starting to play a little bit better, and that leadership comes in the clubhouse. And I think both these guys do that very well for the Giants.
Yeah, thanks. I'm probably spoiled by watching Jose Ramirez every day in Cleveland. I'm sure I'm spoiled.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's a superstar, though. But I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
He doesn't take a play off, so yeah.
Yep, great one. All right, thanks. Have a good day. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back with more telephone calls, 415-808-KNBR as we talk Giants baseball as well as we continue to celebrate Brandon Belt, number 9. A celebration today for him and his family. His mom was there, his high school coaches were there, and just a great group of Giants from the front office to ex-players. Of course, Bruce Bochy, Gabe Kapler were there as ex-managers. It was a fun day before the first pitch was thrown. I'm Bill Laskey. We'll be right back on Sports Leader KNBR.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show. Giants win today at Oracle 6-2. Brandon Belt got a celebration, number 9, with his family out there. 415-808-KNBR. Got a few phone lines open if you have a memory of Brandon Belt. Just a great guy overall. Today's game, some superstars really hit the ball well. Luis Ariz, 2 for 5 with an RBI. Casey Schmidt, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Jung-Hoo Lee, 2 for 3. Elliot Ramos, 2 for 4. Drew Gilbert, 1 for 4. Patrick Bailey, we didn't even talk about his RBI, 1 for 3 with an RBI. It was a good offensive day, and this is what we're expecting out of this Giants team, to get 4, 5, 6 runs a game and open this up for the pitching staff. And I'm going to continue to keep bragging about this bullpen because they have just been lights out today. Matt Gage, Keaton Wynn, Eric Miller, and Ryan Walker put 0 earned runs on the board. And Matt Gage gets his second win of the year. He goes 2-0. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Got a couple guests coming on later in the show. Ryan Leong, of course, he's the producer of Bay Area Sports Rap and an app where you can read about all different kind of sports. We're going to have him on live. And then later in the show, Jose Vizcaino. Of course, he played his time with the Mets, the Guardians, and the Giants under Dusty Baker. And we talk a lot about Jeff Kent, who's going to go in the Hall of Fame, a premier second baseman. And Jose is the infielder coach with the L.A. Dodgers, so I got a chance to talk to him this week. That's later on in the show. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Let's go out to Sacramento, talk to my buddy Scarecrow. Scarecrow, happy 2026 season, my friend. I haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I'm really kind of enjoying these guys, though I do think actually I'm kind of puzzled, and maybe you can help me with this. You've got a guy on the bench that would probably be starting for any of the major league ball clubs, and he's your backup guy, and he also happens to be probably your best fielding first baseman. And I'm wondering if the stuff that you have to learn in terms of learning a position on the run and plus trying to hit out of a slump is just a little bit too much for Devers, and wouldn't do with maybe a couple of good days off. I mean, it's not like you don't have a guy that can back him up here. You've got guys.
Well, and that's the problem right there, Scarecrow. You don't have an experienced first baseman on this team. There's nobody that has experience at first base. Just like when you talk about an experienced closer, Ryan Walker is that guy, and he's the only one that's really closed down there. A couple experiments that the Giants are trying, and of course Rafael Devers played third base most of his career. He's not an experienced first baseman. We see him shuffle sometimes and go to his right when he shouldn't. Pitchers cover today, of course, a couple of nice plays there. Again, what do you want to see at first base? It's either him or Casey Schmidt.
Well, I would look. You've got somebody that can spell Devers. I can deal with Casey Schmidt at first base for a couple of games. I mean, we got Casey Schmidt at third base for today, and he looked great.
Boy, he did.
But,
That's a natural position, too.
Yeah, and the thing is, you got Adames, who could probably use a couple of days off. You've got Devers that could use a couple of days off. And I'm not sure that maybe kind of a rotation going on where you've got Schmidt literally going in and out at every position and being able to give your first line guys a rest is not going to pay off toward the end of the year.
I agree. I've been saying that last weekend when they beat Washington in the first 2 games. My whole lineup was, before we knew Susac was hurt, I had Susac, Encarnacion, and Koss in the lineup because I felt you just won 3 in a row and you had an off day after Sunday and you had a long flight. That was the perfect time you would have had it juggled. And I mean, I go back to Bruce Bochy, Bob Melvin, all your experienced managers would have given that guy a day off, just like a catcher after a night game, after a day game, stuff like that. They haven't done it yet. And here, poor old Koss hasn't played at all since spring training. And I don't think that's fair to him, as well as Encarnacion, who was scalding the ball out of spring training. Now he's frail and hitting little weak ground balls. They've taken the punch out of both these guys.
Yeah, and if I've got a complaint against Tony Vitello and it's not even a complaint. I said, I don't know that he's learned how to work his bench yet. I mean, and that is one thing that is going to pay dividends come the end of the year, because let's face it, Matt Chapman is a little up there. Adames is a little up there. Arise is a little up there. Devers is a little up there.
Were you talking about age, or what are you talking when you say up there?
In terms of age. The guys are late 20s or 30s.
Well, Chapman's 32. He's the only one in their
32.
30s. When you look at Devers, and Adames is 30, Devers is 29, Arise is 29. I mean, those are really not that old of guys. Chapman today, I was glad they got him off his feet. Maybe that's something we're going to see as you're talking about. Maybe we'll see Koss at shortstop tomorrow. I like what you said when you put, you still use Chapman as a DH. Maybe they can put Schmidt at second and give Arise a day off of the feet. They have to save these guys' legs. And Scarecrow, you and I have been preaching this, and I think the biggest issue is Tony V going to do it.
I hope he does, because they could turn around and make the DH a valuable place to put guys to give them a breather.
I agree.
I mean,
he did it today.
A DH every other day. I mean, a different guy every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that
especially when you have the days off when you travel. They'll get the game tomorrow and they'll travel to Philadelphia. They have off on Monday. That is a day they rest. They're not going to go out and work out. They're not going to go to the stadium and take BP. It's a day of rest. And I think that's what you look at when they're giving them 2 days of rest. That's why it was always, I loved what Boch did. Boch always took that day off and gave them 2 days of rest, because it really gives them energy when they come back on that Tuesday. It really does. It revitalizes them.
And like I said, I understand that, Tony Vitello's got to learn the pro game. I get that. He's got a brain trust around him.
He sure does.
Both around him. He's got all of these guys around him that can help him through the fine points. I don't have any particular issue with the way he runs a game. You run the game, you run the game. That's not unnecessary. But
I think it's time. I think it's time, Scarecrow, you and I are talking the same language. It's time to get Koss in the game a couple innings, get him some at-bats, get Encarnacion, let him play first base. Who cares? Let him get out there. Get these guys a day of rest. And I'm right there, Scarecrow, and let's see if they do it tomorrow, because tomorrow would be a good day, especially with Landon Roop on the hill, a ground ball kind of pitcher. And, of course, Koss can definitely play shortstop. And thanks for the call, Scarecrow. Appreciate it. Let's go to Redwood City and talk to Dave. Dave, you're on an extra inning post-game show. Giants win on a comeback win. One more win, and they'll have another series.
They're doing the right things. It's nice to see this. Bill, I truly enjoy your show. One caveat, we sure all miss Vida. You and Vida were a great team.
I know. It's going on a few years now. I miss him every day, and people send me a lot of pictures of he and I, and it's just a reflection of a good friend. And I know he's up in heaven listening to my shows and laughing at me all the time.
That's good. Say, the last caller stole my thunder. I was going to ask you two quick questions. Is Koss in the doghouse? That's one of my questions. And my second question, Bill, there's a guy on Facebook who has a business of showing reels of Major League ball games. Mm-hmm. And I thought Major League Baseball had to give you permission to show those films. But the bigger issue is he lip reads what the arguments are, and he inserts the foul language, heavy foul language, which you know and I know goes on in a ball game. But to let the fans watch that and have kids watching that, I think it's a little over the top, and I'm surprised Major League Baseball hasn't reined him in.
I agree with you right there, David. That's not the proper way to do it, and And there's a lot of lip reading. I mean, we go back with Matt Chapman jumping on Casey Schmidt. How much did we hear about that for the week after that? You know, when he said catch that blinking ball. I mean, those are little things that happen in a game because there's competition going on. You want to make the plays. You're just telling them to concentrate a little bit more. It goes on in every sport. We all know that. But at the same time,
they don't have to show
I don't
it
like what they. Exactly. I was just going to say, you don't have to open that up and let people just look at it and say, oh, look what Earl Weaver did. You know, look what Billy Martin did. Those guys always did that because in the fiery point of every game, managers did that so much back in the day. They don't do it that much now, but there's still some guys that get that red face and they go after those umpires. But I agree with you. Watch the game. We don't have to explain it in any depth.
Bill, Boone is one of the most vulgar of them all, but like I say, Major League Baseball has given their imprimatur to let this guy do this, and I'm quite surprised. And I got to tell you one other thing real quick. He shows the umpires cursing back at the players and the managers, and I'm very surprised that Major League Baseball doesn't say something to their umpires. I mean, I know you go man to man and talk all that stuff, but there's got to be a line in the sand about where the umpires cross the line on giving the vulgar language back to the players and the managers.
Yeah, you know, it's just to the game of baseball, and I think a lot of the umpires, you know, back in the day when I played, you knew the umpires. You knew by their first name because you had National League umpires, American League umpires. Now there's a real cluster of a lot of young umpires. I don't even know half the names when Kruk and Kuip announce them. You know, I'm like, who is that guy? You know, I've never even heard of him. But sometimes these guys have short tempers, you know, Dave. They have short tempers. And you hear them barking from that dugout, and you hear them barking a little bit more. When that mask comes off, boy, they don't like it. And they're going to tell you, hey, quiet down over there. And then they start pointing fingers. But most of the time, all those pitchers in that dugout are going, rabbit, rabbit, you got rabbit ears, you hear me over here? I mean, you start, once that mask comes off, then it comes diffused, and then that umpire is going to hear it. But I'm with you. Let the game play out a little bit. Let it be a 9-on-9 and not go into temperaments. And I think that's where a lot of umpires get that hot temper going.
Yeah, and I understand the hot tempers on both sides, but I don't understand how Major League Baseball allows the umpires to use the language they use.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Major League umpires get reprimanded when they miss so many calls. I wish they would do something like that. It really takes away from the game. And now with the ABS, now you get to 2 calls that you use. Now the strike zone can change any which way you want because the umpire controls the game now. And I've seen that go against some pitchers with some tight zones, and they open up the zone and they don't give it to them, and you can't do anything about it. Patrick Bailey's behind home plate holding the glove there, and the umpire calls it a ball, and you really can't do anything. So it's going to be how you make a strategy on using that ABS. And I think today Kruk and Kuip were talking about they're using it a little more in the middle part of the game or the end game. And I agree with that. I think you shouldn't use it in the first part of the game. It's too good for you. You need those 2 challenges, especially if you get in that 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. And I'm hoping the Giants do that a little more.
Well, thank you, Bill. You're a great show, and thanks for all you do.
Dave, thanks for calling. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. Got some more callers got to get to. And, of course, we're going to bring on my buddy Ryan Leong and an interview with Jose Vizcaino. But we got some calls to get to first. So I'll be right back right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show. Giants win today 6-2. One more game tomorrow. Of course, Landon Roop on the Hill, 105 first pitch right here on KNBR. I want to give a shout-out to my buddy in Arizona. Patrick's listening to me in Mesa, Arizona. I want to reach out and say hello to him as long as he's doing well down in Arizona, battling a few things, and it's great to talk to him weekly and making sure he's feeling better. I just want to reach out and make sure that Patrick's doing good today. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go out to San Ramon and talk to Adam. Adam, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. What's going on today?
Hey, how you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good after a bounce-back win. I think the Giants needed that, and 3 home run balls is definitely a plus.
100%. And so I got to say, I thought Bay Area baseball was a lot better when the A's were out here in Oakland. But I got a situation I was curious your opinion on. So my kid, he has been raised an A's fan. And I have a choice. Do I turn him into a Sacramento A's fan, or do I put him in on a San Francisco baseball, or do I turn him into where his mom came from and make him a Padres fan? What do you think?
a lot of options right there, Adam, and I think the best thing is maybe you ask him. You just say, hey, do you want to wear an A's hat, a Padre hat? You can wear an orange and black hat, but I think the whole thing, Adam, is teaching him the game of baseball. And whatever team he goes after, whatever he sees, there's so many great baseball players he can emulate. And I think that's the biggest thing for any father, to show the right way and the wrong way of doing things. And I think you've got a nice household of baseball fans.
Absolutely. No, he's a good kid. He had 2 doubles today and 2 RBIs.
Nice. Nice.
So, yeah, he's loving baseball. And in terms of the Giants, I mean, I think they got a good squad. I'd love it. I heard a rumor today that they'd make a trade with the Astros. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
Never heard anything about that. Tell me your rumor.
So I heard they're aiming for a home run hitter from the Astros.
Where'd you hear this from? Was that on like a rumor mill or something of that nature?
It's someone I know that's in Houston.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll find out. I mean, there's always a lot of trade rumors. There's a lot of different trade speculation, but I still think it's too early right now with only 27 games into the season. I don't think any team's ready to give up a home run hitter, especially at this early part of the season.
But you know who I'm talking about, right? Air Jordan.
No. Who?
Yeah. Apparently, Yordan Alvarez. Apparently, he might
First
be on
baseman?
the block from the Astros. Yeah,
Huh.
Yordan Alvarez, Air Jordan, apparently might be on the block.
Wow.
And apparently, the Giants are looking into him. I don't know if this is like how much weight this has, but that would be a huge.
Well, there's probably interest.
left-handed bat.
You know, Adam, there's always interest. There's always interest in any kind of player. It's about how you put the deal together and what you're giving up and different terminologies of the contract, what the length of the contract, how much money is left. You're always going to hear speculation. You're always going to hear names. It's the next step. Are they interested? Is this getting hot? If it's not, or if it's just like what you're saying, somebody's talking about it and maybe a writer said it could be possibly the Giants interested. I just think it's too early for speculation and too fast of a trade if it's going to happen that quick. But Adam, thanks for the call. Let's go to San Francisco and talk to Mike. Mike, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. Giants win today. One more win tomorrow. They win 3 series in a row. What do you think?
Great win today. Landon Roop on the bump tomorrow, and Brandon Belt day today. Couldn't be happier. Bill, how you doing?
Yeah, good day all around. Good day all around. I enjoyed the Brandon Belt celebration, some great speeches, and Brandon put on his best Brandon Belt impression of how he played here and how he answered questions. I enjoyed it. How about you?
I got one for you. My favorite memory that comes to mind of Belt was just one interview years back when he was asked, who does he think the fastest man on the team is? And he said, well, I have to say it'd be me. And that's just Brandon Belt. And today, when he was saying that, well, I thought the Giants would have this day for me the day after I left.
Some great one-liners right there. And it was just the way he said them and of the straight face. And, he was very appreciative of what the Giants did for him. And, you saw all the giraffe hats out there. You saw the captain hats. I loved him putting on the boat with his family, throwing baseballs in the stands. That's the ceremony the Giants do. They're the best at doing those things.
Definitely. And in honor of the baby giraffe, I've got a couple of nicknames put out there today. One is the first would be Drew Gilbert, Scrappy Drew. If you watched Scooby-Doo as a kid, you remember his little nephew, Scrappy. Let me at him. Let me at him. And the other one is
I did watch Scooby-Doo, so I know what you're talking about, Mike. I know Scooby-Doo is on my television a lot.
Cool. That was mine growing up, too. Other one is Space Case for a multitude of reasons for our Casey Schmidt. And I was glad to see him hit one out today. He's having a great year. What was your biggest take from today's game, Bill?
Me? I'm still going to – Mike, I think you know me as well as anybody. You talk to me all the time. Pitching. I love watching this bullpen come in and put zeros on the board. You and I talked about it along with a lot of other callers in the beginning of the year. The big question mark was on the bullpen, and these guys have all stepped up. They're fighting for each other. They're in their corner all the time. They're watching them warm up. They're helping each other, and that's what builds a bullpen. And we don't even talk about Jesse Chavez, who's down in the bullpen, an experienced pitcher in the big leagues, and how he brings them into the game. What are you talking about? What's your theories? He's got that table set up down there with the lineups, and he's probably got scouting reports. That's what brings that bullpen to get together. You want to bring that team together. And that bullpen right now is putting lights out.
Bill, I got one for you before I let you go. I
let
heard
me ask
that.
You, Mike, what was your takeaway today, Mike? Takeaway for the game today. I gave you mine.
Mine would be, Scarecrow called in earlier, and he was mentioning giving the guys a couple of days off for Devers and Adames, and I don't want to say that. What I want to say is, let's just get up behind them during their at-bats right now because I want them to enjoy themselves, and that's the biggest point I want.
They need to relax a little bit, maybe. I'm still, Mike, I'm still saying I think Adames could use a day off. I think Devers could get a day off. It's nothing against them, but it's a mental approach as well as a physical approach. Just a shutdown day, especially when you're traveling tomorrow to the East Coast of Philadelphia and you have Monday off. It gives them 2 days to kind of re-energize themselves. I keep talking about Bruce Bochy, Bob Melvin, back in my day, Frank Robinson, Roger Craig. You always had to use your full roster. And this is what I'm hoping Tony V sees. They got to use the guys on the bench. It's not fair to Koss, Encarnacion. It's not fair to those guys not to get some playing time. And tomorrow, I think, is a perfect time to use one or both of them to see if you can give some of these veterans just a little day off. And I think that's what I'm hoping to see tomorrow.
Well, that's great to hear. And I agree with you.
Well, Mike, thanks for the call, buddy. I got to move on here. I got a couple more calls I got to get, Mike. So it's always great talking to you, my friend. Thank you so much. Let's go up to the state of Washington up north and talk to Ray. Ray, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. What's going on up north?
Up north, we got great weather, no rain, of all things for a change.
Wow, that's a first for a while.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you. I know you've heard this before, Bill, but I love your show, and I love how you navigate the passionate fans that call in and make them feel like their thoughts and their takes matter. And
well, I really feel that though, Ray. I mean, it's just like a phone call talking to you. You know, I don't know 90% of these callers. I know when they call in, I know they're passionate about the game, and I know they understand the game. I've said this for 7 years doing this show. Giants fans understand the game. They watch the game. They want to analyze the game just like we do. But it's their honor. Their honor to love the Giants. It's their team, and they want this team to win. And that's why I let you guys talk the talk, and let's hear about it.
Well, I never get tired of hearing you say Giants win today. All right, speaking of takes, I watched the game on Tuesday. Yamamoto was pitching, and he was throwing that splitter, that nasty splitter, 2-3 inches below. And I remember the last time the Giants played against him, they were flailing at it. They were swinging at it every single time. But for the most part on Tuesday, they were not. And I think that threw him off. Point. And I could be wrong. I'm just a fan.
Well, you know what? They scored 3 early, though, Ray. Remember, they scored 3 in the first inning, and after that, he did get control of the offense. He really shut the offense down. He threw 4 or 5 different pitches, and he was dealing for a while there. And at that time of that game, when they had a 3-0 lead, I was saying to my buddy on the phone, I said, this is about as many runs they're going to get off of him. They have to make this work, and they ended up doing that. Yeah. And they ended up winning that game 3-1, and they eliminated the Dodgers on 0-3 hits. But you're absolutely right. When they get that splitter down, and you look what Keaton Winn does. Keaton Winn has that same kind of splitter where if it's knee high and it goes low, you always hear hitting coaches say, if it's low, you let it go. If it's up, you take advantage of it. Keaton Winn's got that same nasty splitter as Yamamoto does.
Well, the mindset they had the first few innings, and then it went away. I noticed they went back to whatever. But I wonder if they had a game plan going into that game, and is that a byproduct of Tony and the coaches? Hey, look, let's do this, let's do that. And it's a whole lot different than last year. And I see it getting better, and it makes me feel better, I tell you, about our team.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You have to let the pitching coach and the hitting coach kind of feel each guy out, feel it out. I interviewed Justin Message. It's going to be on tomorrow. I interviewed him yesterday after the Dodger series, and we talked pitching. And, you know, if you listen to my show, I love talking pitching. And it was just a great, great interview, and you'll hear it tomorrow. And Justin Message said it. I started learning these pitchers in the offseason when he got the job in November to understand who I'm working with. And one big thing Justin Message always had when he was with Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, he gravitated to the younger arms and helped them. And I asked him what was one of the things he wanted to do with these young arms. He wanted to get their first 2 pitches to the best of their ability. And we talked about Keaton Winn, the 95, 97-mile-an-hour fastball and the split. If you can come in out of the bullpen throwing strikes like that, now you've eliminated the curveball, the slider, the third pitch that you don't have to think about. And I love that theory because if you're looking at this bullpen, you could probably look at every pitcher and say they all have 2 awesome pitches. You look at Matt Gage, the slider, the fastball. You look at Ryan Walker, the slider, the sinker. But if you're dominating the opposition with 2 pitches and you're coming in throwing strikes and you're only going 1 inning, you're looking for 3 outs. And I loved his tactics like that, and it's something I'm looking into already.
Well, today was a great day. I got the feel goods with Brandon Belt listening to everybody, and the Giants got the win. So, great all
Good
around.
call, Ray. Stay dry up there. Stay dry in Washington, all right, as you enjoy the weather up there. All right, let's go to Berkeley and talk to Andrea. Andrea, how are you on a Saturday evening?
Good, Bill. How are you?
It's always good to have a win. You know, the post-game shows flow a lot better. You got more excited fans calling in, and today with Brandon Belt's celebration, it just worked out perfectly for the Giants.
Yes, no, perfect timing. The Giants really do wonderful celebrations, and it was just, to see Brandon Belt get his flowers. And, it was just a few days after his birthday. He's a Taurus, born April 20th, 1988. so he has that determined quality of a Taurus and very kind of reliable. And he talked about his love of food. It's an earth sign. And yeah, I liked hearing that. And
he didn't miss a beat today. I mean, it's the same Brandon Belt we left when he retired, and his interviews were like that. And some of the interviews from some of the players that said, you're talking to him and he makes a comment and you're walking away going, was he for real or was he joking with me? And that's the kind of humor Brandon Belt is. He did an excellent job on both radio and TV when he jumped into booths, and he always left everybody with a smile or a smirk because that was Brandon Belt.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it was just baseball gods and goddesses. The Giants ended up playing the Marlins, and Gabe Kapler was there. And I it was just really nice to see Brandon Belt get his flowers, and the Giants do a great celebration. And I have this fond memory back in the day when he would hit home runs and he'd trend on Twitter with the hashtag Belted. And that seems like a while ago, but that was like so much fun because he'd hit these awesome home runs and then he'd trend on Twitter Belted. And it was just, such a magical time.
Well,
really.
one of the things he and Kipe talked about was all the giraffe hats. And, of course, Belt said, well, don't forget about all the panda hats. And Kipe goes, how come we didn't get any money out of that deal? That was a lot of people bought those hats. And Brandon goes, yeah, what the hell were we thinking about? I mean, that's the kind of humor it is. And that's what I love about Kruk and Kipe when they get the players up there. They make them relax. They make them have fun. And it was just a nice day for Brandon Belt and his family.
Yeah, it was great. And, to see Casey Schmidt hit the home run, and I think John Miller was like, lifted high and deep, it's going to Berkeley. It was like, I love when he says that.
Did you catch it, Andre? Did you catch it? It was coming to Berkeley.
I wrote on Twitter, saw the home run, wow, amazing, LOL. And, Drew Gilbert get his home run and his tie-dye hair pendant. I get a kick out of that. And Ramos, it was, good pitching with Robbie Ray, good hitting, good defense. They kind of clicked on all cylinders to celebrate Brandon Belt.
Yeah, and they got to do one more game tomorrow. If they could do that, win 2 series at home and go to Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, 2 places it's going to be real difficult to play at. But it gives them that edge. And they're still playing well. They've won 6 out of 9 games. Their offense is starting to wake up. They're starting to hit the long ball. And I think, and I keep mentioning this the whole show, the bullpen has just been lights out. I love that. I love it when so many question marks about the bullpen and they've come together and they separated what roles they had and what certain parts of the game they're coming in. And I think that's the edge that message is given to them as a pitching coach.
Yes, that's true. Everyone has kind of done a really excellent job and, kind of takes a village, and they're clicking on all cylinders and, hoping for a Sunday fun day. It's just been a really exciting series with the Brandon
Well, we'll
Belt
find out,
celebration.
Andrea. But, we got one more game tomorrow. But thank you for the call. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Andrea. Have a great rest of Saturday, and let's hope for that fun day Sunday tomorrow. But I appreciate your time. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. Bring on my buddy, Ryan Leong. He's going to come back next as we talk more Giants baseball right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
Okay, thanks.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
All right, back on KNBR with Bill Laskey. Giants need a win tomorrow. They'll win both series as they beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3 in the beginning of a 6-game homestand. 1-1 against the Miami Marlins. One more game tomorrow. First pitch right here on KNBR at 1:05. Landon Roop takes the hill. He's 4-1 with a 2.28 earned run average going against Max Mayer, a 27-year-old right-hander. He's 1-0 with a 3.9 earned run average for the Marlins. All right, coming up next, my good friend Ryan Leong. Of course, he covers Northern California sports for the Bay Area Sports Wrap. Let's bring on Ryan. Ryan, how are you this afternoon?
Hey, good, Bill. Good talking to you. It's been a while.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. And, of course, Giants win a big game today after they got beat pretty good last night with Miami when Miami had 9 runs on 16 hits. A very aggressive Marlin hitting team. What have you seen out of this young team in the 2 games you've watched?
Like you said, no, I mean the Marlins are definitely very aggressive, and they've got some talented young players on their roster, and I think they're out to prove themselves, and that's why you see that their record is what it is right now, which is 13-14, so they're just under 500. But I've always found that the Marlins historically have been a team that's always been one that's kind of been an upstart, right? If you take away the fact that they've won the 2 World Series when they did back in 98 and then 03, they've always been kind of an under the radar kind of team, and I think only people that tend to really follow baseball know who the Marlins are. And I think this is another case where they've got some up and coming players that could prove dividends in the future.
Yeah, Ryan, both those World Series championships were won by Jack McKeon. Of course, he was Trader Jack back in the Padre days. And Jim Leyland, another one that ended up going into Hall of Fame. 2 great managers. But you're absolutely right. The Marlins just seem like they get it going, and everything they do, they trade everybody away. There's one player on this team that I just think is exceptional, and that's Xavier Edwards, their second baseman. Just reminds me so much of when you look at Luis Arraez. They both have that similar at-bat where you can't strike them out. They don't swing out of the zone unless they put it in play. What have you seen out of Edwards so far this year?
Yeah, no, he's a dynamic player. Like, as you mentioned, I mean, some of his numbers, if you look at what he's done already so far, I mean, a 353 average, his on-pace percentage is what, 911? I mean, it's incredible that he's played as well as he has. But again, I just think, unfortunately, when you're playing for a city like Miami that just doesn't get the notoriety, I mean, I just think for the longest time, Luis Arraez is a good example. I mean, the people knew him as a really good hitter, but I don't think they even kind of knew how good a hitter he was until he left Miami and went to the Padres, and now, of course, the Giants have him.
Well, you look at Luis Arraez, and when you look at his numbers, 20 out of 26 games he's got a base hit or more. This guy has just been electric the whole time. He's got a bat in his hand, 3-time batting champion. Why can't he stick with one team, Ryan? Is there something that maybe he wants a long-term contract? I know one of the things that he went to Buster, he wants to play second base. He just didn't want to DH or play first base. What is it? Is there something that we don't know about Larissa Wise? Is there something that maybe a team doesn't want to get him a 2 or 3 year contract?
I don't know. The one thing I could think of is the fact that he's the kind of player that you just don't see anymore, Bill. You don't see guys that just hit pretty much as a contact hitter. I mean, this is not a guy who's going to ever be in the home run derby or lead the league in homers or be up there with the power numbers. But this guy, like you said, he gets on base. I mean, he's like the modern day Tony Gwynn as far as that goes. And you know, once upon a time, players like him and Rod Carew were really the backbone of the top of your lineup, and you just don't see that at all anymore. So maybe he's just a really good player that's kind of playing in the wrong era.
Well, Ryan, what do you think so far as second base? I think he's been playing exceptional. I mean, his hand coordination, getting the ball and releasing it has been outstanding. Have you seen a lot of good things so far out of him?
No, I have. I think he brings a strong veteran presence, and I don't see why he's being limited in his time in the infield, because I think a lot of guys will always say that they tend to play better when they're not just hitting but also playing in the field. They feel like they're part of the game. If you're just DHing, as you know, you're basically sitting on the bench and you're getting up 4 or 5 times a game to hit, but that just doesn't keep you in the game. And I think a lot of times guys feel like when they're actually in the game, and you know, this is a pitcher, Bill, when you're out there, you just feel like you're part of something. And when I think you're DHing, you just feel like you're just kind of removed from it all.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning post-game show, my good friend Ryan Leong. Of course, he's a reporter for Bay Area Sports Wrap. You can check it out on BayAreaSportsWrap.com. Does a great job. You cover a lot of Northern California sports. You've done it for so long, Ryan. But you just said something that brings me up to Rafael. He wants to be on the field. He wants to play first base. He wants to learn the position. But at times, it's just not he doesn't have that confidence yet. Do you think this is something the Giants are looking at to possibly maybe find another first baseman, maybe make him as a DH? I don't think he really wants a DH every game.
Yeah, maybe not, but he just doesn't have a skill set. I mean, he's not somebody who's historically a first baseman. As I recall, he came up as a third baseman, right, when he first started playing, way back when with the Red Sox. But he's having a hard time getting together. I mean, right now, as you know, he's only batting around a little over 220. It's just been a real rough go for him since he's been a Giant. I mean, he's had some some flashes here and there, but overall, it's just I don't think he's really been all that great of an acquisition for the Giants.
So far, we haven't seen that hitter that he possessed when he was in that Red Sox uniform. We just don't see that drive that he's been hitting the ball out of the ballpark. He's only got 2 home runs. You would think by now he would have been in maybe double digits or close to it. Maybe, 6, 7 for sure, but we just haven't seen that flash where he can drive a ball out of the yard.
No, you haven't, and it's been kind of frustrating, not just for him, but for a lot of the Giants in the lineup. I mean, it's interesting when you look at a game like today's. When the Giants win, right, they're getting the timely hitting that they need, and the pitching comes through. And then when they're not, it's the opposite. Like a good case in point is that opener against Miami, where they end up losing 9-4. They're down 8-0 to start the game. There's no pitching, there's no hitting, there's no bullpen. That's frustrating. I mean, you like you said, but there have been some games though where they played well. They took 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, and again, same thing though, right? In the finale against that series, the Giants, I think, got shut out 3-0. So it's a real. I tell you, the Giants are really a work in progress, and I don't know exactly where they're going to end up or how competitive they're going to be. I mean, not terrible right now, being 3 games under 500, but you got to hope that they're gonna somehow turn it around. And it's tough for a first-year guy like Tony Vizcaino, who's never managed at the major league level, and he's the first guy ever to do that. That's coming from the college game, and I wonder just how much. The players, I mean, it sounds like the players have definitely bought into what he's doing. I mean, it seems like they would. I don't know if they'd run through a brick wall for the guy, but it seems like they'd do pretty close to that. I mean, I don't know about you, Bill. What do you think are your thoughts on how Tony's doing?
I think he's trying to communicate better. I think his coaching staff is helping him a little bit more. I really believe he does not understand how to use his bench yet. I've criticized him a little bit by not using Koss or Encarnacion. Of course, when Susac was healthy, Why wasn't he in a little bit more? I think the bench needs to play a little bit, take some of this pressure off some of the guys, as you mentioned, like a Devers, or I keep talking about Willie Adames, who's in a real bad slump right now, 1 for 22 on his homestand. Last Sunday I talked about I wanted to see Koss in the game, and Adames just frailed at pitches. I love Willie Adames, don't get me wrong, but there's a time where some of these guys need a rest, and with that off day Monday, it's always great to say a Sunday game, use a bench player. Bochy did it. Melvin did it. Back in my day, Frank Robinson did it. I think, and I hope Tony sees this for tomorrow's game.
The thing I've noticed too, Bill, which is kind of odd, is I think he's got the right people in the lineup, but he's got people batting in kind of strange places in the order. You would think that he would bat Arraez first, and then bat Adames second, or somewhere else in the order. And I just feel like sometimes he's got people batting in just odd locations.
But, you know, we saw this in Ryan, we saw this in spring training where he was mixing up his lineup, and I loved it because he was using different guys in different positions, but now he's stuck with this 9. He's not changing the direction of it. Jung-Hoo Lee is now hot as a pistol, and you would think he might be leading off tomorrow against the right-hander Meyer because he's the guy to get on base. Maybe you bring Arraez down to 3 and you put Chapman at 2. I've been throwing different lineups out here for every weekend, but again, the next day it's the same lineup. I just wish Ron Washington, maybe Bochy or somebody would say, let's try something different. Give this guy a break. Give this guy a day off. Get Koss back in the lineup. Get this guy some playing time. I feel bad for Koss. It's not a thing that he has to sit there every day, and then when he's going to play, the pressure is going to be on him.
Right. No, you're right. Like I said, they're definitely a work in progress, and like you said, you know, I don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors and how Tony is kind of leaning on his coaches, or even, of course, the fact that he's got not only Bruce Bochy, but he does also have, I think, Dusty Baker around if he really wanted to get some advice from. Sure. He got 2, Hall of Fame managers.
Well, and we don't know, Ryan, we don't know if they go in there and talk about it. We don't know if there's somewhere where they pull it away and they say, if he wants my input, he can talk to me. We don't know that communication that goes in the clubhouse. We don't know if it's his coaching staff and him sit there, or Buster comes in and they talk about it. We don't know all that. And all we can do is talk about it and get our input in. That's what we do on talk radio, and I think that's what a lot of fans, when they call in here, they want to talk about it too, just like you and I are doing. I go back in the old style days with the Bruce Bochys and the era when coaches used everybody. When they played Washington, Butera used his whole bench. I love that out of that 33-year-old manager. Hopefully, Tony starts seeing this and uses his whole roster because they definitely need him.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, as of right now, too, I mean, Koss only has 1 hit and 8 at-bats. I mean, that's not a sample size you can really, go with, right? I mean, like you said, he's basically just sitting there and he's not being used.
And he's a good kind of contact hitter, and he can play any position on that infield. I like what he did today, putting Schmidt at 3rd and taking Chapman out. That's what I'm hoping that he might do here and there by using a Koss, or even using Schmidt at second base, or maybe back at first. He's got to use his bench a little bit more. And once we see that, you may see a spark in one of these guys that go 2 for 3 when you're not expecting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you, Bill. I mean, like I said, it's interesting to see so far what's happened with the Giants this first month. I mean, I kind of expected them to probably play a little bit better at this point, but again, being 3 games under is not the worst thing.
No, not at all, and they can win another series tomorrow. Ryan, when you look at the road trip, Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, of course, Tampa Bay is playing very well. Philadelphia going the opposite way. They have been struggling. What do you see about this Giants team going on the road? 2 tough oppositions.
That's tough. I mean, again, anytime you're away from home, of course you're playing in different ballparks and you're only there for a short time. Now, the one thing that is to the Giants' advantage is playing in ballparks that probably are a little bit more where the ball travels better. As we all know, Oracle Park may be the crown jewel or one of the crown jewels of Major League Baseball, but it's not a place where you can drive the ball. It's just really difficult to do. I mean, I know it was Brandon Belt day to day, and here's a guy that I think had a lot of power potential, but I think because he played at Oracle Park, he only had 1 season where he got even close to 30 home runs. I mean, it's just a place where home runs go to die. So hopefully the Giants, when they go on the road, they can use that one aspect of knowing that they're playing in these different ballparks and have places to hit where they might be able to drive the ball better than take advantage of it.
Couple more minutes with Ryan Leong on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. You can also see his work and read his work at Bay Area Sports Wrap, and that's easily to find. Ryan, let's talk a little bit about Brandon Belt. A great celebration the Giants put on for he and his family. His high school coaches were there. His mom was there. Very emotional about his dad that just passed away. But a memory part of it, Ryan, you covered the Giants back in the day when they won 3 World Series. What did you think about Brandon Belt? Was he a superstar player in your eyes?
No, not a superstar player. He was a good player. I said he had potential, but he had a lot of he'd always have a season, or during a season he'd get on a hot stretch and then he'd be on an ice cold stretch. He just couldn't get a hit. He'd either strike out or he was flying out a lot and he just couldn't get hits to fall. But he had the potential and he had a great swing. I mean, there was a lot of talk when he first came up. A lot of people were thinking, hey, here comes the next Will Clark. Well, that didn't happen. I mean, but he did he carved out a good career for himself. He was a fan. I wouldn't maybe not entirely an overall fan favorite, but a lot of fans liked him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the giveaway they had today, and the seat for the captain and calling him the baby giraffe. So, I mean, he definitely made a name for himself in Giants lore for the time he was with the franchise. So when you look at it that way, I would say he had a successful career. But again, if you had me rank him, I would say he came out as a good player with potential that didn't quite deliver, but he made the most of it.
We look at first basemen on the defensive side. I thought he was very good, above average, even at that point as a first baseman, going on the out of bounds, catching the balls over his shoulder. So many ground balls he picked from throws from Craw and Panic. I mean, there was things that he did at first base that was above average, and I always thought he was a Gold Glover. Bruce Bochy mentioned it too, and he was in that era. There was a lot of good first basemen, and I think he just fell right behind it. But what do you think of his defense? Let me hear that one.
Oh, defense phenomenal. I mean, I would say that he filled in the gap quite nicely after J.T. Snow left the Giants. I mean, but unfortunately, a lot of times, how are Gold Gloves given out? They're given out based on how well a guy hits. And I bet you anything, if Brandon Belt could have hit, let's say he averaged, let's say 280 with 25 homers a year, I'm sure he would have had some Gold Gloves in his trophy case. Because he did. He had phenomenal defense. I mean, there's no question that he provided above average first base, for sure.
I'm right there with you, Ryan. I think he deserved 1 or 2, and some of the things he did when you look at Craw getting his Gold Gloves, Panic got a couple of his. He had one for himself, and a lot of it was the defense of Brandon Belt, as well as the bunts. We always talk about the first baseman coming in, feeling at a bunt, and going to third base. He did that a lot because he was very good at the reaction play, and he was pretty accurate with his throws. Same thing with double play balls. He always went to second base with a ball hit to him. That's why I think he was above average first baseman.
No question. Again, yeah, I mean, it's just too bad that a lot of times it becomes a popularity contest. Where do you finish in the Silver Slugger voting? And unfortunately, Belt was never in those categories. Like I said, aside from one really good offensive year that he had, he just did not ever quite get in the conversation of guys you thought about when you thought of dangerous slugging first baseman.
Ryan, a pleasure talking to you. I finally got you on the show, and we'll do it a little bit more as the season progresses, but great insight again, Ryan.
Hey, thanks so much, Bill. I really appreciate it. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, that was Ryan Leong. Of course, you can read his work at BayAreaSportsWrap.com. Does a great job covering the Giants. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back with Jose Vizcaino. I sat down with him to talk about his career, and he was a pretty damn good shortstop. We'll talk about him coming up next right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. My guest played 18 years in Major League Baseball. He was one of 3 players to play with 4 New York teams, former and current teams, the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Giants. Of course, he wore the orange and black with the San Francisco Giants in 1997. Let's welcome in Jose Vizcaino. Jose, how are you today?
I'm good, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me. And you know what? When you look at the 4 teams that you played with, the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Giants, what a great combination when you think of the former teams when they were in New York, and now they're out here on the West. But what an accomplishment to play with all 4.
Yeah, it was. And I'm for sure I was the first player to ever play for the 4 original New York teams. So it's something that is never gonna, erase it from, my memory and from baseball, uh, baseball records. So, just unfortunately, be able to play for 4 great organization and then, and I'm enjoying every single time that I was, with them.
Well, Jose, let's go back in time. You were born in Dominican Republic. You started your major league career signing at the age of 19 with the LA Dodgers. Tell me a little bit about your youth and tell me about some of the players that you looked up to.
You know what? I signed when I was a month before my 18th birthday. I was 17, but because back then to come here to the state, you had to be 18 years old. So I had to stay in Dominican for a year, and then I came here when I was almost 19. Just it just. Since I was a kid, I always want to play baseball. When I was 8 years old, I always tell the story to, wherever I go to a lot of schools after the kid because I want them to, to achieve the dream that I did. And I always tell the story about when I was, for my 8th birthday, I wanted a fire truck. And then because of my parents was, they didn't have money, my mom, told me that she cannot afford to buy me one. And, I started crying and she started crying. And then, I just like something came out of me and say, you know what, Mom, stop crying. When I grow up, I'm going to play for the Dodgers and I'm going to buy all the toys that I want to. And 9 years later, Scout from the Dodgers went to my house to sign me and my mom started crying because you remember 9 years before I told her that I was going to be a baseball player and I was going to play for the Dodgers. And, and it happened 9 years later.
What a special memory that is for you, Jose. And as a kid to make that dream come true when you sign it on a dotted line. Well, like I said, at 19 years old, you came over here, you played in rookie ball. You ended up going to A ball in Bakersfield, and you made a jump to AAA in Albuquerque at a young age. Tell me a little bit about the minor leagues, how difficult it was for you being away from your family and learning just to take care of yourself.
It was very difficult, especially the first year when I first came here, because I didn't know one word in English, and and I just what I learned it with my teammate. And I remember the first couple of weeks when we got to Florida, when we wanted to go buy something, we went to Kentucky Fried Chicken for 2 straight weeks, and we just pointing with our finger at the picture that we like, because we didn't even know how to say, "I want this" or "May I have this." Then a month later, we drafted a guy from Puerto Rico, and he started teaching us, "May I have?" and "I want this." And then we started going to a different place like Burger King, McDonald's. So it was really, really tough. Communicated with my teammates, with American teammates. It was hard, even though they tried to help us. It was difficult. It was a hard time. I didn't communicate with my family because we didn't have a phone. So I sent a letter to them in March, and when I got back to Dominican in September, 10 days later, after I'm there, I received a letter that I sent. So they was, they didn't know anything. I never spoke to my parents, during that time. So it was hard. It was pretty hard. But, at the same time, I knew that what I wanted to do, and then, work hard, and then, just, first year playing in A ball, then the second year they sent me to Bakerfield, and I was having a good year there. So at the beginning I wasn't playing, and I never forget. And so many stories that happened in my life, in my baseball career. I don't know if you remember Jones Roseboro, the catcher. He always, my hitting coach that over there, it was Tommy Davis. He hit 340 in the big league, drove 100, 50 run. And he was my hitting coach. But Johnson Roseboro was telling that, I have a good hand, but I cannot hit. And then, I was just laughing because I wasn't playing because we had a number one draft pick playing shortstop. So one day I called my hitting the hitting coordinator. He was Cuban, and the infield coordinator, he was Cuban too, Chico Fernandez. So I told them that I want to go back to rookie level because I came here to play. I don't want to be sitting on the bench. And the guy that was in front of me, he wasn't hitting. So they talked to the manager, they talked to the phone director, and they said, okay, we can play him once a week. I said, okay, that's fine. And never forget, it was a Saturday. I played and I went 4 for 4 when we won. And the manager said, "Oh no, you're gonna play tomorrow." Then I went 2 for 4, and we won. And the rest of our history. I became the everyday shortstop, made the All-Star team, and then the shortstop after the season he became a scout. Um, and we have a good relationship, even though that what happened because of me. But because I knew since I was a kid that I want to be a baseball player, and I always trust myself. I had confidence in myself. I never thought that I was gonna fail, and that's the attitude that I always have, and I always tell the kids, to always trust themselves. And you're gonna go through some up and down, but it's how you come up the next day and try to be better.
Jose Vizcaino joining me on the Extra Inning postgame show. 18 years, like I said, you played in Major League Baseball. We're going to jump around a little bit. You left the Dodgers. You got traded over to the Cubs. But in 1994, you were traded to the New York Mets. The first time you're playing every day. Dallas Green was your manager. A great first year, 146 hits, 21 doubles, 56 RBIs. You were in the limelight of New York City. How did that jump make you feel, and how did you like Dallas Green as a manager?
Oh, he was awesome. He was a great mentor to me, to the other guys. He won the World Series with the Phillies in 1980, and then he was in the game for a long time by then. So I always listened to him because he wanted to get the best of every single player. So he got it from me. So he gave me the trust to play every day. So I worked hard, and then he was awesome. He was a great manager, even though we didn't win there. But I learned a lot from him.
Jose, you got to play with Jeff Kent in his early years. Now Jeff Kent's going to be a Hall of Famer. Of course, his trail with you went from New York to Cleveland and on to San Francisco. But it was the early days when you were playing shortstop and he was playing second base in New York that you got this combination together. Tell me how that all started with both of you in New York.
Yes, it was great. People always say, always make excuse of him that he was not a good defender, but he was a good defender. We led the league in double play, and because of him, we had a good combination. And besides being a great hitter, he was a hardworking guy, great teammate. And finally, that's a long time. He should have been Hall of Fame in the first try. So I'm so glad for him, for his family. I always have him in my heart because he was a great teammate. We had a good relationship when we were playing. So, it's just like Barry Bond too. He should have been there a long time ago. People don't realize that for me, when people ask me, he's the best player that ever lived because he would do it. He can do everything. So he belonged there with Jeff Kent too.
Well, Jose, like I said, we played with you with the New York Mets, and then you both got traded to the Cleveland Indians under Mike Hargrove. And the Indians played pretty well. You guys got into the AL Division of Series, and you lost to Baltimore. What was the relationship now with Jeff Kent? Building a little bit better, friendship on and off the field? What was it about you two that, you made a lot of double plays up the middle, but the combination was even quicker then?
Because we knew that we were gonna play together, so we talked a lot, and then we work hard a lot, both, we push each other, and even though he was a way better hitter than me, but I was trying to help as much as I can, just like him helping me, and just we build a good relationship, and that's why we play in three different teams, doing a combination, so. Going to Cleveland, we got to lose in the playoff, but then we got traded to San Francisco, and then it was another great year. We made the playoffs too, even though we lost to the Marlins to go to the World Series. But it was such a great year there too. When people ask me, what was your favorite team to play? I said the best team that I played was the Yankee, the 2000 Yankee. But my favorite team to play was the '97 Giant because. We were all together, and it was a bunch of guys that loved the game and stick together. And even though we didn't win the championship there, but we had a great year the year that I was there.
Jose Vizcaino joining me for a few more minutes on the Extra Inning postgame show. We'll dive into that because you got traded from Cleveland to San Francisco along with Jeff Kent. And as you said, 1997, you played in 151 games, a .266 batting average, and you had Dusty Baker at the helm. You guys finished 90 wins and 72 losses. And there you are again, looking to your left, and there's Jeff Kent playing second base, and you're up the middle playing shortstop. Your combination was still quick, but how hard was it changing so many times from New York to Cleveland to San Francisco? Was it a hard time for you making those changes? And now you're with somebody special, Dusty Baker.
No, you know what? People will not believe, but no, I was not because I always, since I was a kid, since I was young, Rafael Avila, the scout that signed me, he always told me that, that you always, because he was the one who told me when I got traded from the Dodgers to Chicago Cubs, and I was crying because it was in Dominican doing winter ball. And he told me, hey, it's a better chance for you. When you see when somebody get traded, I mean, the team that trade you is, wants you more than the one that trade you. So I always took it that way, when after the season, when in Cleveland that we got traded to the Giants, say, you know what, they want me more. So I got to work harder. So, cause, I got to prove to them that the reason they trade for me is because, they want a good player. So we had a great season there too. Dusty Baker. I always tell people when, I'm playing 18 years with 8 different teams, they always ask me who's the best manager you play for. And I always say Dusty Baker because he was the player's manager. He knew when to give you the all. He knew when to talk to you, call to you often and ask him, on the field, off the field question because he want to make sure that you're right. He was the best. He was just like second dad to me, and I always appreciate how he was so great to me. And then until this day, every time I see him, I hug him, and he knew he know how important he was for me.
Jose, as we finish up here, 18 years, I say, as a Major League Baseball player, you played shortstop, second base, third base, played left field, designated hitter. But when you recall all these years, all these teams you played for, what was the biggest memory that you can come back with as a defensive player? Something that you learned, something that you worked on, and something that made you an elite infielder?
But my infield coordinator Chico Fernandez, he always told me always work hard in your defense because it's better to catch a ground ball. It's easy to catch a ground ball than hit a base hit. So I always work hard in my defense, and I think that's what one of the reasons that I last that long in the big league. It's different now. Baseball is different than when I play. I would just a player that had to set the table for the big guy behind me to drive some runs. So it was easy for me offensive to do the job, but I work harder in the defense because I always say if I don't get a hit, no one's gonna get hit by me. And I mean, every day for me it was a great play. But I don't have one exactly, but I would say my first triple play, that was a great defensive play, and it was the first ever triple play in Dodger Stadium history. So that's one of the good defensive player, that I remember a lot too.
What a special day that was. But Jose, what a pleasure catching up with you today and reminiscing on some of the great years you had in Major League Baseball. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
That was Jose Vizcaino on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show as we close out a Saturday with a victory by the San Francisco Giants 6-2 at Oracle Park. 6 runs, 11 hits, 1 error for the Giants. 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors for the Marlins. The Giants finish out their homestand tomorrow. Landon Roop, 4-1 with a 2.28 earned run average, goes for the Giants. Max Mayer, a right-hander, 27-year-old, 1-0 with a 3.9 for the Marlins. And we'll see if the Giants can take their third consecutive series win with that tomorrow. All right, I want to thank Ryan Leong as my guest today, Jose Vizcaino. If you missed either one of those, you can also hear it on the All KNBR podcast. I want to thank my producer today, Danny Dunn. Double D did a great job producing the show, and I want to thank you, Giants fans, for making all these calls and talking Giants baseball right here on Extra Innings. Tomorrow, we're going to do it right again, same time pretty much after the Miami Marlin Giants game on Sunday. Got 2 good guests tomorrow. I sat down with Justin Message, the pitching coach for the Giants, had a great pitching conversation, and 94-year-old Jack McKeon. That's right, Trader Jack and I have a conversation of one of the World Series that he was manager, and they won. For Bill Laskey, have a great rest of Saturday night. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home of San Francisco Giants baseball. KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. Play KNBR on iHeartRadio.